tax for the year is $2,886. So there's another item.
And for the custodians in your job, but
Yeah. Can I just ask a question about beaver control? Just because I know nothing about, I mean, I know we had money for pests that we cut back on, but then, so is this something, I don't recall seeing this in,
yeah, other budgets,
no,
yeah.
was it?
Yeah,
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 It's
We've needed
necessary.
it.
Yeah, it's a problem.
So we have, okay.
yeah. And I think that goes to a matching grant
Oh, okay.
that we get
Gotcha.
from some
Okay,
organization.
gotcha.
I know.
I don't think we've ever discussed it before.
I know.
Or, I mean, by we, I mean the last 2 years, but,
Well, last 2 years have been,
Ken,
yes, sir.
there are times throughout the year that trappers are given a permit to trap beavers at a cost. So I think part of that is also paying for that, where it affects public property.
Gotcha.
You don't do private property, you do public property. And also, we do have some levelers in town that need maintenance. Those are put in place to, so that people and beavers can get along. Because when you trap them, you kill the beavers. They don't go to the beaver zoo in the sky. You actually kill them. So, some people don't like that, but at times, sometimes you have to do that. So, highway department would cover that budget. We would issue the permit to a licensed trapper.
Gotcha.
The
Okay.
beaver control isn't killing them, though. That's.
Right,
it's-
that's-
that's,
No, yeah,
right, it's
and
Beaver
then-
Solutions, and
Yeah.
they put in the,
Yeah.
Deceivers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trick them,
Yeah.
trick the beavers. Okay, does anyone have any motions about any of these other items? Yeah,
The town accountant,
yes, ma'am.
did we increase our budget to 40 hours already, so is that really gonna have to be on the iPad?
Yeah, where's that?
Town accountant increased to 30, but did she budget?
Oh, I think we have an updated version.
An updated version, I took it out.
Yeah.
It's just been taken out.
So it's not
In
on
the-
ours.
In the version they
Yeah.
have, it came out.
yeah.
We don't have that.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
it went down to 299
Right, because we had
instead of
to.
the 312, or whatever it was, yeah.
Before we decide on positions and salary and whatever, the CMMT certifications
Yes.
must be, they
Very
must be
important.
done.
Very
So
important.
that's, they've waited, and
Yeah.
they shouldn't be, so,
Are those in the budget now?
I'm sorry.
They're not.
It's halfway down the list.
They're here, but they're not in the
It says
budget.
financial
the
official.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she was asking if it's in the budget.
I thought it was
already.
on this side.
No, it's on the,
Roughly 2,000 each.
so, and that includes the finance and the town clerk?
Correct.
Also?
Correct.
So,
And that obviously, given the town's financial situation and the restructuring, I think that increased training would always,
It is.
is always helpful. And
Yeah.
Yes, bud.
One of my concerns is because now we have this stormwater and this four that we learned about tonight, I learned about earlier today, you're talking about the increase in snow and ice by 25,000, and now we have the MS4 that we may be charged with too. And I'm just curious if it would be in the best interest for this add-back program that perhaps the selectmen hold off until next year to talk about increasing snow and ice, where you've got another $20,000 bill looking at. I'd hate to see it jeopardize, an employee somewhere within the town getting added back. Just a concern. I mean, if there's more than enough money to do
I know,
all of that,
but if we
that's
keep
fine,
pushing
but,
it off, well, that means it's up to all of us, I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And but just echoing the same concern is that we still pay for it just on the revenue side when we get our cherry sheet next year. So it leads to an additional, I mean, $25,000 in cuts from our revenue when we know we're going to have that increase. But I understand what your point is, if we want to hold off on snow and ice.
I'm only saying, only because you only got so much money.
Right,
So I mean,
right.
if you had to drop something, in my opinion, would be to leave the snow and ice the way it is, because, that's not going to affect us. You can't.
'Cause you're allowed to
Next
deficit
winter
spend,
might be-
so-
Yeah.
Next winter might be a mild winter, and we might be really.
One could hope.
skating easy. I hope so, but,
no.
I mean, it runs in cycles, but That's just a thought
Yeah.
for you to think about.
Regarding the financial officials, the CMMT certification for $6,000, do I have any motion regarding it?
I will make
Yeah.
a motion.
That's not in the budget, Bob?
No.
Just wanted to clarify.
I
Oh.
would make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, so, no motion for you, Julie.
All right.
Okay, so that's it. First and a second. Is there any discussion on that? And again, this is for the certification that we've been putting it off for
right.
years and it needs to be
Yeah.
done. So that's $6,000. First and second, any further discussion?
How much was for the maintenance person?
Julie?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, so we have the 58,000,
We're down to
6,000.
215.
That's 215,
Two, yep.
550.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone have a next
How
favorite
much
item?
was the cost of the maintenance person?
We didn't do maintenance.
didn't
That
do
was
it.
11,430, but we
Right.
didn't do it.
You didn't vote it, that's right.
No.
Okay.
I think the difference was 3,000.
3,000 something, 3,500 something. 30,
So I'm down to 215, 550.
Yep.
all right.
What happens if we hold off on the MRPC master plan? I'm just curious.
Oh, I
If
don't
we
know.
start like voting other stuff and we don't,
Kirk, do you want to speak to that?
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you back
Yeah,
there.
no, that's fine. It's just that the town keeps putting it off. Eventually, it's gonna bite us when it comes
How
to
long have we put it off?
55 years.
Is that an
68, I
accurate?
think, wasn't it?
What's another year?
Wasn't it 68? Yeah, something like
We've been
that,
trying
late
to do it.
60s.
You know, it's never.
You guys aren't kidding?
I am not kidding you.
So this isn't something we've only put off for a couple of years?
Off the top of my head, I did, but it's somewhere around there. 45 years. But no, just so you know, okay,
Okay, so, okay.
the town has refused to fund it for years, so the planning board was just taking their budget every year and doing it a little bit at a
Right.
time. Then when our budget get whacked, we have to stop on it. But perfect example, when we come to the road we were talking, Royalston Road, redoing that with a tip list, first thing they look at is where are you at with your master plan? Oh, it's stalled, we worked on it for 10 years and we haven't done anything
That's
for 3. So we might be cutting our own, our foot off, you know, and I'm just saying, I know the town's broke, the planning board, do one or the other. Increase our budget, we'll keep chunking it out like we have been, or, you know, either or, but you can't take them both away, we can't operate the planning board and work on the master plan with $5,000 a year. It was like one or the other.
Okay.
Ken,
Yes, sir.
can I ask,
Yeah, sure.
where are we in this whole process, Kirk? How much have you got done?
It's like 85% done, there's like two legs left on it, I don't know off the top of my head, because it's been sitting
So-
for like 3 years, John.
So how much more do we have to do?
Dollars and cents wise, I think it's roughly about $20,000 worth to finish the master plan. I could be off by a few bucks because every time goes on, of course, the elements increase
All
in
right,
cost.
all right. So let's get it done.
Well, this doesn't cover all of it. This is still
No.
just a portion.
But if I understand you right, we're
Yeah.
gonna be like, once we get this part done, we're about 95%
It
there.
was like a 10-part journey, and I think we have like 8 done, you know, so like the last 2 phases, we picked and choose as far as, well, we could, sometimes we'd have to wait, we'd have to budget 2 years in a row to do one element, you know what I mean, and that's kind of where we're at right now. I wasn't prepared for this tonight, so I don't have exact numbers, but.
But so this would be something that
We are close.
we likely would have to do for maybe one or at the most 2 more
Maybe
years.
1 to 2 years.
And then we'll be done.
And the sad part is you have to kind of continue doing it, but at least it'll be upgraded, like the way it's by 45 years, which is huge. Then it's just a maintenance thing after that.
Gotcha. Mr. Bennett?
I believe that lack of a master plan at one time, I can't remember the exact thing, but I think it affected us, the town applying for a grant.
One
There was some issue about it, that, you know, if you don't have the plan, you know, you don't know, and it affected a grant, so.
Mike?
it's important.
Yes, sir.
Following up on what Kirk said, they've got 2 legs left, roughly 20,000. What about 10,000, get a leg done, and then you're not gonna do both legs with 12,000.
Right.
But you wanna make sure you get 1 leg done. So I'm just cutting it in half, 20,000 for 2 legs, 10,000. Would that do something, Kurt? 10,000
I think that they weren't equal in cost. One was, maybe one was 12, one was 8. That's what we
You
shoot
did
for.
this.
We
What
could-
else have we done?
close to
They want to do the 8th?
We could dip into the, I'd say I don't have these numbers. I hate like that to say.
I'm pretty
oh,
sure that,
well,
I just wanted to ask that
I'll bring
question
that up.
because I did discuss this with Bob, and I
So
think he
far
said it would be
we've done
12
this
now
and
and
this,
another
right?
cost later,
That's
so I'm not refuting the number
Yeah.
at all, because I'm pretty
that's
sure
four.
that that's the number that I had in my head. So if we were to go to do the tip list, then that would be a problem. If you're saying if we went to do a grant, that would be a problem. Does that affect our bond rating?
We don't have one.
I know we don't have one now, but to work, okay, I hope we have one soon.
No, it won't.
No.
I'm looking forward, not right in this little tunnel right here. We need to move forward, so.
I think it wouldn't affect whether or not we get a bond rating.
Okay,
but-
thank you.
But it was likely on a list of things that we get when they would do our reevaluations to look at and say you could do X, Y, and Z to make yourselves a better credit risk,
Well, let's already be partway there then.
right? Okay, so we, oh, yes, sorry, yes, sir.
I don't know, I may be incorrect, but I believe that the last official town map was when Templin did their last master plan. So that's the last official town map. At that time, the planning board was responsible for the official town map. Map since then, the one the assessors had Bingham do, was not an official town map. And then the next map I did, I put a disclaimer on it, because I recognize that as a member of the Board of Assessors, I was not the keeper of the official town map. Now, maybe someone else has produced one in the last few years, but I don't know of it.
Yeah. Would, and I would be surprised if there was one.
Well, I think it is important to have an official town map.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we have a first and a second on this. Are we ready?
I didn't really make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about
Would you
the,
like me to make a motion? I would
Sure.
make a motion that we fund the MRPC master plan related work for $12,000.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
First and a second. Is there any other discussion on this item? Not Julie?
No,
Okay. John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes,
And I'll vote yes. Okay, so there's the 12,000.
203,550.
203, okay. Should we look, it might be, to look at the add backs in kind of all at once. We may want to, I don't know if Chief Bennett, if you wanted to, I know you said that this is replacing, I don't know if you want to discuss or tell us of the, kind of the negative consequences of not having that position filled.
Well, currently, this police department's understaffed by one patrolman. When the budget cuts came down, we lost 3 positions. We were able to hire one back July
This was requested, but I can accommodate it up here.
in through a retirement. One back July 1st, one back in September. And July 1st was through retirement, then we still had 3 down. We hired one in September, one in October. We're still down 1. Currently, what we're running, if we don't have, we have 24-hour day service. However, 2 days a week, there's only one guy on patrol from 2 to 7 in the morning. And on Saturdays and Sundays, there's only one guy running the day shift from 7 to 3. We have a guy going to the academy on August 3rd. If the guy goes to the academy and we don't have this new guy, the midnights are gonna be wiped out, and we're gonna go back to the 6 to 2 for the next 6 months until he graduates the academy. If we get back to full staff, we'll be able to run the department as it's being run now and still have 24-hour day coverage.
Gotcha. And isn't it, I may be wrong, isn't it a violation of our insurance? Our special firemen and policemen insurance to only have one officer on responding to certain calls?
It's recommended.
It's not a.
Because obviously there's
But it's
no,
also recommended that we have a cell, and we don't.
no,
Um,
okay,
so-
great. Which obviously isn't your fault, that's a
And why
funding fault,
We're working
right,
on doing
yeah.
the cell now, so
Yeah.
that we can meet the recommendation.
Gotcha, yeah.
We're gonna help you with that.
Okay. And Mr. Chase, you're it's called an additional highway employee, but this is an add back, you said, correct?
It's an add back. When we had one of our employees pass away, there was a promotion within the ranks, the empty slot never got fully funded. They got partially funded last year, and we had to relieve him about 6 months into the year, so we desperately need another guy back again. It's the same situation as the police department has. Throughout the course of the summer, we also have some employees with weeks of vacation to be used, so when people are out on vacation and whatnot, it creates a smaller staff. We're not able to get done the tasks that we wish to do. So I'm looking to get that funded fully again.
Thank you. And the health agent position, I don't know if someone from the board wanted to speak, or if, yeah.
I'll start, since this cut's affected me personally. Our department has been devastated overall. Over the past 3 years, I keep saying this, we cut 35% from our budget. We also combined into inspectional services. We combined an admin position. Since Larry left, you haven't had an effective building inspector in place. Both the building inspector community and the public health community are relatively small overall. However, we brought in revenues to the tune of over $135,000 through permit fees, but we don't have the hours to do the work. If you want food inspections done, you want your restaurants inspected, fund this. You want your schools inspected, fund this. You want your housing inspections done, you fund this. We have, some of the things you don't realize we do communicable disease follow-up. We've had active TB cases in town that need to be monitored for medication. Through our efforts in working with the Massachusetts Public Health Network, we've been able to have public health nursing cover this. However, the cost of doing that is participating in the network. As far as food inspection, on that front, all I've done recently is the seasonals. I haven't done any of my twice-a-year inspections, because I come in, I've had these housing cases throughout the winter months that they just don't, a housing inspection, it's not just one inspection. There's one right now that's potentially gonna go to court. Court's on Friday in Leominster. Not even funded to do that. I have to figure out, how do we do that? You're gonna do the inspection, issue the violations, you gotta be prepared to do the follow-up work and filing in court. We're down to bare knuckles. Being here 20 hours a week, can't really get any traction. A lot of our work, what we do, if we do our work, it's preventive. We prevent costs to the town by doing our work well. Right now, we're not even hanging on. The board, we have an elected board that supervises us. They know what we're doing on a regular basis. We meet with them monthly. They've been involved in this process.
And I did believe we did we all receive that letter from the Board of Health, all the selectmen?
It was in your packet last week.
It was in our packet last week, affirming what you're saying, that work that should be getting done is not able to get done because of the 20-hour.
I'll sum this up, because I know you don't want me to go on and on, although I could. We're not capital intensive. We brought in funding through all our furniture in our office is either grant funded or hand-me-downs. New computers in our office. When I remember Bob, at one staff meeting, how many people here still have XP on their computers and half the room put their hands up? We were able to replace those through our efforts through our regional coalition. Again, everyone thinks grant money is free. It's not. It takes work in order to get that. We've been very active in doing that. So we're not capital intensive, and we're not even people intensive. I'm saying fund this position. You know, I know the building inspector, you're trying, but even that, at the hours you're allotting to it, is really not enough. Plus, he's the zoning agent. So your building inspector is not doing any of your commercial inspections that need to be done every 3 years. I don't even know when the last time those were done. Believe it or not, you know, there are some housing starts, there is a lot of activity in the building department as far as they're waiting. They're coming in, paying their money, and right now they're taking pictures, so I urge you, whatever else, to support this. If Don has anything to add.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier that you're losing your professionals, they're moving elsewhere. I don't know if you guys know the history of the Board of Health and finding a health agent that worked professionally with us. Well, we went through a lot of trials and tribulations before we found Phil, and we searched all over New England, and we constantly had problems. We've had probably 4 of them. Our secretaries, our assistants, both of them, we educated them, they were doing the right thing, they got there, they went through all the classes, they were going, the town's paying for these people to go, and then all of a sudden you start cutting money, they leave. It's twice that's happened, that we paid them up to the assistant health agents, and it's a huge cost to the town. We paid these people to be educated to do all the things that Phil's doing as a backup, and now they're gone. Now we start all over again, and we're going backwards with that. Not to mention that you drive around town, and there's people building stuff, adding on, you see construction everywhere. Is there any permits being built for any of this thing? I don't think there have. And it just, I find that odd that some of these people are doing this stuff, and it's no permits have been pulled. I know they're not, because there's nothing going through the office. And these things are happening in town constantly. And like Phil had mentioned, this is there's money coming into the town, and you're stocking, this is being stocked.
Yes, John.
If you could go back a little bit, Phil, and you mentioned that how much money is coming back in permits?
Through, the last time it was $135,000. A couple of those were the solar installation, that brought in a good chunk. And then the school biomass.
Now
But
that,
collectively,
did that go to the health or to the building?
no, we don't have, those go into general fund.
Right, but
The
that's,
only, and you took away the plumbing and electrical revolving funds, you just pay stipends. And now you're trying to figure out how you're gonna pay the electrical inspector that's generated all these fees for the solar. But, so that goes in general fund. We have a revolving account if we run our bulky waste and sell our compost bins, those kind of things, but all our fees go into general fund. So the fees are going into general fund, but we're not getting the hours to do work.
all right, so.
People that are paying the fees aren't.
Right,
getting
well,
work.
that's, I guess what I'm trying to get at here, is if they're generating income, and it's not going back to cover the expenses of the department, that's really not a good way to do things.
I'd like to make a comment on that. It's one-time revenue, so you can't use it, you shouldn't use it. That's how we got in trouble, by using free cash to support regular O&M costs of our
Those
budget.
fees don't keep coming.
Well,
It's-
you know,
we don't-
in
you don't
other
know what your
communities,
fees are
they
going
have
to be from
revolving
year to
funds
year.
and
You
pay those
don't
costs
know
out of
what
the
your
revolving
fees are
fund.
going to be. The revolving funds are set up with just a certain amount of money. They're not to pay for salaries. I believe that's the way
To
it's
pay
set
the
up.
cost of the department.
It's not to
The
pay for
inspection
salaries.
fees.
This is to pay for salaries. So in order to pay for salaries, you have to make sure you have reoccurring income to pay the salaries, or you end up in the same situation that we were just
I know
in.
that, I've done this before.
Well,
But it's still, if your department is bringing revenue into the town, and you're not covering the cost of that department, that's not good sense, period.
Yes.
I'm not asking for a revolving account, and I don't want to get bogged down on that. My only point there is, we're bringing revenue in, it goes in general fund, fine. We just need hours to do our work. And however you want to balance that. When we take fees, they go right in general fund, that's fine. But we're not only do we cut our budget more than any other department per capita over the 3 years, now we're not being able to do the work. So
Right.
I don't know any other department head that got their hours cut in half. And if you want to ask anybody here, can you do your job in half time? I think you know what the answer is going to be. I can't do it in half time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Chief Laporte, did you want to speak about, now yours is an additional position.
Yeah, you can.
Well, but if he wants to, do you want to speak on it now or now?
Sure, I'll always speak for my department. Most of you know what we do and you know how much we get done for free or close to free. We've got people that are donating time at night to be on call and signing up for shifts with no revenue at all from them. And they're doing it freely because of the incentive programs that we put in place. The incentive programs have worked for us. We've yielded a lot of benefits for the town. And this is just one position that would help us better staff the ambulance service mainly, but it would also be available to the fire. Our goal is simple, just to protect the citizens of town, not looking to do anything outlandish anywhere, just do the job.
And just so, because we have revised lists, so everyone's aware, so the police department position is $69,553. The highway department position is $30,700. The health agent back to full-time, 40 hours, is $31,769. And let me see. And then the new position would be the fire EMS, and that is $64,406. Would be the impact on the fiscal 2013. I don't know how anyone, I feel that regarding the health agent, that given that not only obviously the department head has requested this, but also that his board has unanimously requested this as well, and particularly because I am aware that work is not always able to get done, because I know that I hear things, being a real estate lawyer, so you know when people are trying to do things and trying to whatever, and you hear people mention things about not being able, things, permits that they paid for, things are not getting inspected or whatnot, and it holds things up, that you hear about that. So I do trust that the inability of the work to get done on no part of the health agent, because again, we're not talking about, if he just stayed an extra hour, not that he should have to do that, but we're not talking about that amount of work, we're talking about a major chunk of work that is just not able to get done in that amount of time. That's probably the one that I personally, and it's the second smallest after highway, but I don't know if anyone would like to make a motion about that one, or would like to make a motion about one of the other positions that we've heard discussed.
I would like to make a motion to do the COA, the 10 cents more per hour for the bookkeeper.
Now, is this a pay?
Very small money.
I know, is this an increase, a pay increase, or is this a?
No, this is,
To restore?
this will bring this individual who has the most seniority in the department up to parity with others who have been hired more recently at higher rates.
Gotcha. And this is $78 for the entire
Yeah,
fiscal year?
Yeah, I mean, it's just
It's just,
patently unfair to have the situation that we have, so.
Yeah. So is that a motion?
that is a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, any of the other items that we just heard?
$203,472.
I also am having the same issues with what you're hearing, I'm experiencing with the Board of Health. I've had at least one person contact me via email, and I've gone back and forth with her and with Phil, and there's just not enough hours. And I just recently got another email today, and she's very upset. And unfortunately, timing is that Phil has to prioritize housing, inspections, and it's not working, and this is an actual health violation that's happening. So, yeah, I'm seeing it.
It's a ripple effect. You stop it
It's-
from doing this, Everton,
Well, yeah,
the
it's
state,
huge.
Everton just,
Yeah.
the
It's falling
schools aren't
apart.
inspected on time. The things that need to be done aren't being done, it's just the minimum.
Right.
That's what we're experiencing right now.
happening all
And then
the
if there's
time.
anything, we often have them, we have one, where landlord tenant constantly, they're fighting, and they pull Board of Health in,
Yeah.
and Board of Health's gotta go sit in the
Yeah.
courtroom.
Leominster District Court, 9 o'clock in the morning on School Street on Fridays,
Every
yep.
day, every time, and that's a huge amount, and you can't predict when that's gonna happen.
Yep. Yes.
And I can see where you're coming from, and you're coming to realtor and lawyer. and I can see the building, not the Board of Health, but you're also, and it's not even on this list, and I guess no one can go to that one because there's no one in the department, but your building inspector, you only have 10 hours a week for this guy. Honestly, I'll tell you, I have over $1 million in new growth that I'm not billing out yet because I have no building
Yeah, that's true,
inspector
too.
to issue permits.
It's not even on here.
So it's the triple effect is coming down and the town's getting hit hard because they want to save some money. And you cut him to 10 hours in a building department, you're not going to draw a building inspector up for 10 hours a week. And I seriously think that probably should have been brought to your AdVac list, but again, no one's in the department to speak for him. And as an assessor in the town, I'll speak for the department because I have over a year and a half's worth of work for building permits pulled that we haven't even gone out on yet. And it's only gonna get worse now that April is here and spring is here. Construction's just gonna go wild again this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I would only sandwich her thoughts in that the NFPA 1, part of the governing rules that govern the fire inspections, have been moved over to the building department for a very large section of our inspections. They now handle through the building inspector with a delay that gives us the maps to review and then send back to him. But those are handled through the building inspector, and we don't have the ability to do that right now. So it's kind of responsible on those.
Yes.
I think in our budget, the building inspector is at 20 hours a week.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think a compromise would be to do 10 and 10, split 10 to the building.
could do that.
And 10 to
10
the.
more, the 30
health
and
agent.
30?
Yeah.
Everybody gets 30 then.
It's a compromise.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. We're not living in a perfect world. It's much better than it was last year. Put that out there. But I think, we have to balance all of these competing needs and do what's best overall for the town. And I think that would be a good compromise.
Do we know what that total would be then, the financial? So I'm assuming the health agent, that would then cut that in half, and then, so we'll be looking at about 16,000 more for the health agent.
In the range of, the health agent be 15,885, and the building inspector would be 12,435. Yeah.
So we're looking about 28.5 for the two.
All right.
Yes.
Understand compromise, but I'm also department head, administrative head. The new person is not going to be that person. When you want to add hours to the building inspector, do it. But to take it from what was already a full-time job, at a lower grade, lower step than you've had anybody here prior to me. I came in, you didn't pay to train me. I was already trained and certified. And in looking to finish here, because I lived around Templeton my whole life, not planning on going anywhere. So ask anybody else whether they can handle 30 hours here. Bud, how's 30 hours for you? Chief, 30 hours? 30 hours? Why all of a sudden is public health and public safety where you think that's okay? I don't really understand that. I'm the one that's been there in between when the admins have left, because the only time our admins were able to get a step increase is when they left and you brought somebody else in. So now you have some parity with what's going on with the rest of the building. Prior to that, you had trained admins at $12.84 an hour, with no way to deal with that. So I've been the one that's been holding that department together. So 30 hours a week, you talked about paying bills, things like that. It doesn't cut it. It's been an interesting year for me, filling in, working part-time, here and there, wherever, from Greenfield to Sturbridge, different parts of the state, just to make my ends meet. When you talked about, salary and wage increases, this would have been the fourth budget cycle that those of us that are still here, when this all started 3 years ago, will be the fourth budget cycle. We're the ones that are still here that haven't seen anything, but we're still here. We have different reasons why we're here. Most of it is because it's close to home, we like what we do, we like serving the public. When your new building inspector comes in, number one, you want that person to be able to stick. Now, how's that happen in a small office? Means working with the person that's here, that's gonna work with you. And I'm the one that's training a new admin at this point. Trying to point her in the right direction. I mean, the person we have, has a good skill set. We're feeling really encouraged, but there's training that comes with that going forward. We're not gonna spend the money training like we've done in the past, because we realize we're never gonna get that approved assistant health agent position that went through all the channels and sitting on the books. We realize we're never gonna get that. So, that being said, add some hours for the building inspector, but to take it away from my position, it's,
Is Alan, just out of curiosity, just so, because he's another department head, I'm not comparing him as a person, but him as a department head, is Alan at full-time at 40 hours?
I'm sorry?
Is Alan Mayo at 40 hours?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so this would be the only position that we have a department head in that actually is staff that they have to supervise, and it's not a full-time position. That's kind of what my issue is, and particularly where this is. I don't know, I have difficulty saying we should give $17,000 to the rec commission, not that there's anything wrong with the rec commission, but saying that we should give them $17,000 while we don't have a fully funded Board of Health, to me seems, it seems a little irresponsible.
Well, I don't
That's-
think, I wasn't recommending doing 17,000.
No, I know, but I'm, well, I know,
That's on there.
but I'm saying, right,
Right.
but I'm just saying that if we're looking at some of these other
Right.
items, that we're going to, have beaver control for $1,000, but if someone has tuberculosis and is supposed to be taking their medication by requirement, we don't have someone here every day that can go to their house to make sure they're taking, which we have to do, but of course, we don't follow the law all the time here, so.
No, it's
And I don't say that
recommended.
flippantly, it's true, we are
Right.
supposed to be
Right.
doing things that we just don't have the money for. Yes, John?
It just seems to me like we're losing money trying to save money.
Right,
You are.
yes.
The next question is, you're gonna hire other people, new positions at full-time, 40 hours?
Well, if we were going
They're on
to.
the book. Right, that's what I'm saying. You're
Right.
gonna go down the list, and that's what you're gonna do next, is turn around and potentially hire some new position, 40 hours, when you got them back.
And we're not gonna have the money.
Yeah.
I already did.
No, it
They're
isn't
not
gonna
gonna
happen.
be able
Yeah.
to.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't have it.
As a department head, I would recommend that we bring Board of Health back up for this stuff.
I agree.
I tend to agree too, but I need is there a motion regarding any of this? Okay, do I have a first? So this is again the full funding at 31,769. We're restoring the health agent to 40 hours. John made the first, is there a second?
Second,
First, a second. Is there any discussion? I think
Makes
we've
sense.
exhausted the.
I think so.
Julie?
No,
John?
Yes.
Diane?
yes.
And I'll vote yes.
I
Okay.
don't know where I'm at now because I've been too busy playing with
Sorry.
numbers. Bob would know, right?
yeah,
What was the
31,769.
31,769, and that brings the number down to,
71,700.
171,703.
Okay.
I think that it's the COA increasing the director's salary. I think that we need to not lose another person, and I understand about add-backs too. My next thing would be public health and public safety, but to increase the director's salary to make it more in line with others. We've already lost too many people.
Can I
Yeah, sure.
comment? I think we can accommodate that under the wage and salary increase. That was requested by the
Oh.
COA. It was
gotcha.
requested by the COA, but I think we can accommodate, I know we can accommodate it
Oh, so
under
that
the
doesn't have to be
other
on here.
items.
As a
Okay.
separate
yes.
line item.
Oh, okay.
But if we had voted no for the 58, then we could still
If you-
have the 5
Right.
as a
Oh,
separate item.
okay, so it's okay now?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Do I have another We have the police department, fire EMS, highway.
I make a motion for the police department to restore the
Can't have no
position
people on.
at $69,553.
Oh, and just to clarify, that amount isn't the salary item, right? Correct, that includes the benefits.
includes
So that
benefits.
includes
That's
benefits.
fully loaded.
That's
Yeah.
not as,
That's not a salary, so, right, yeah, so,
That's fully loaded with benefits.
with benefits, so it's, the salary is not 69, and then we have to fund benefits on top.
I'll second that motion.
And you made it right, Julie? Yep, first,
Yeah.
second, any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
102, 150.
Okay, so the add back, oh, sorry.
Just a thought from a discussion I had today with the chief. Would it be possible to increase the contribution from receipts reserved for appropriation account from 180 to accommodate your new employee? Because you had mentioned that it looks like the run rate there is going to get you to the range of around 250 a year.
We should be around 250 this year, up from 242,
I don't even know why
185 in
he's
the last
talking
10.
about.
And see, it's only going to increase as ALS service emerges, because that's much more lucrative
Yeah.
for in terms of income. So I'm wondering if, rather than funding it out of the general fund, we could increase the appropriation.
The ambulance receipts?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there is an EMS component here.
I'd certainly be open to spending some of that money on the fire. You're talking about the fire professional?
Yeah, the fire EMS person that you've,
The only caution I would throw out is the 5-year lease on the defibrillators and the ambulance. I've been using the extra money that we're generating, trying to keep capital back up to where it should be.
okay. What's reasonable?
I haven't done the math on it, I could work on it though.
I mean, if you're asking for 64, I wonder if we could take half out of the other account.
Sounds reasonable.
And for those who may not be aware as well, which I know the chief has commented on before, that because when we don't have the full staff to be able, when we miss a lot of calls, that we then don't get to collect revenue on. So I don't want to say that the new positions necessarily pay for themselves. They very may well do that. But these particular positions, there is revenue to be had already that we're losing because it's going elsewhere when we don't have. And I know the chief's done a wonderful job getting, I know the chief's done a wonderful job getting the employees to respond when those, when they do get 3 a.m. tones to go out. But and they've made many improvements. But obviously having additional staff that we can call on helps us generate revenue as well.
If you were to do it that way, that would allow you to accommodate the highway employee as well. And clearly, given what we've gone through this winter, if we have anything approximating this next year, I know I got a report every Monday about shortage of staff and breaking down of equipment. So the highway has a good claim as well.
Gotcha. Could we do that, and if you feel that the numbers, I mean, if there's a motion to do it, so half of the position would be funded out of the revolving and half would come out of the general fund, and then we would also be funding the highway employee who's at 30, I just saw it, 30,700.
I anticipate, an increase in revenue in next fiscal year because of the ALS. but
Gotcha.
I don't have it.
Right, an exact number. But you could always get, right, okay, yeah. But do we have a motion?
I'm going to do them separate.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
make a motion to fund the fire EMS full-time equivalent at $32,203.
Do I have a second?
Second.
First, second, any discussion? Nope. Julie?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
And I will make a motion to fund an additional highway employee for $30,700.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
First and a second, is there any discussion about that? Julie?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote
What
yes.
number are we at?
Yeah.
I just lost it again.
Two
All right.
motions in one.
No, that was
I
two
did two
separate.
separate ones.
There's two
The
separate.
first
I didn't hear
one,
a vote on the first one.
39,247 remains.
How much?
39,247.
Third, okay. I'm sorry, 39,237?
247.
47. And just so, for those following with you can keep track, these are the positions that we still have, or the items that we still have left. Town Hall, whether we decide to have a separately funded position at 5839, or whether we increase, as Diane Haley Brooks had said, I don't know why I feel the need to say your full name all the time. That Diane, I always say it that way, it just comes out. Or Diane had said about increasing existing hours to keep that as one position. But there's that one, let me see, we did that one. There's the tree warden at 5,000. And the Conservation Commission is 3213. That's again to restore that administrative assistant and back to being on, they're still an assistant, but working out of area or whatever, if that's the appropriate term. Recreation Commission budget estimated back in fiscal year 14 was 17,000. Pest Control, 1,000. Historical Commission expenses, $250. Cemetery Department expenses, $1,583. And Beaver Control, 1,000.
The maintenance person.
Right, and the maintenance person for 5,839. Do we know what the expenses for, that seems like a very specific number for cemetery. Do we know what that 1,583 is?
I was distracted here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're talking about,
Cemetery expenses.
Yeah, 1,583, that seems like it's a specific, maybe that's what he wanted us to think, so.
I don't remember.
Don't think so.
I don't remember, but,
Okay.
It was just to bring his budget back up to where.
Oh, just to bring expenses back.
yeah. Also, after the last meeting, I was asked to add to the Historic Commission, and I actually put down the full amount that they want, which is $250, but we already have 100 in the budget, so
Oh, so it's
that's only
150.
150.
Gotcha.
All right.
Do we have do we have any motions?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, Julie.
You go ahead.
I wanted to make the motion for Alan's person and to combine it with the COA position. I don't want to talk about people, and to bring that back for him, because she's obviously already, that position's already doing stuff. It's $2,886, and I think for an additional, a few hours a week, then he can do some other things. And he's definitely been lacking in that, and I don't know anybody who disagrees with that.
Are you talking about the maintenance for town hall?
No, I'm talking about the
It wasn't on.
admin person
Oh.
for Ellen, that we just increased her hours for the rest of the year, but I would like that
Oh, gotcha.
to continue and have the job description change and have Alan have his,
all right.
just a few
So
hours.
the add back for Pam, I believe,
So
was
that'd be the
2,886.
2,886.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Is that your motion?
Yes, that's
Do
my
I have a
motion.
second?
I will second that.
Thank
First
you.
and a second, and this is to increase the position,
From COA.
the position, what's that called, the
What is,
Is she outreach?
bookkeeper?
she's a bookkeeper,
okay.
I
Yep.
guess.
Oh, okay.
To work.
Yeah. So
I don't know
to,
what to say about that.
but to increase it an additional 4.5 hours a week, so that would add an additional 2,886.
All right. So
First and second.
are we going to have to redo the
Yes.
job description?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Julie?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
Thank you. So you'll be happy.
That's a -2.
I got 361.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
On the items that you request, went through that are left,
Mhm.
I think I may have missed it. What about the building inspector?
Haven't done anything with that
We haven't done
yet.
anything. He's
No.
funded at 20, right?
He's funded it.
He's funded at 20 hours.
But obviously, if anyone has a motion.
It'd be, well,
We figured that out.
And that number
That would
to
be
increase
12.
that would be the 12,435?
Yes. Right.
Okay, so, Luann, can you,
12,435.
Yep, 12,435.
okay, so to not increase the hours is going to,
I mean, the repercussions right now, you're not gonna draw.
because you thought it was at 10, but it's really at 20.
But even Larry was here 20, but Larry was also here with the town 15 or 20 years. Larry knew his work. And to draw any kind of candidate for this position, you're not gonna draw much at 20. You really aren't.
And you're having a problem,
I
right,
mean,
Bob,
how
to,
Yes, I've been refused by 6 certified building commissioners.
So why
and
can't we
based
take-
on what you were saying too, is that I see a lot of people running around doing stuff that they shouldn't be either, and it's definitely gonna more than come back to bite us in the rear end,
It
so.
already is.
Well, Mallory called me just today, she says, oh my God, what am I gonna do? These people.
Right now, we can't do anything.
These people have a
Frustrating, a lot
building
of business
permit.
people in town, they
Yeah.
can't work.
Okay.
Some people are doing it, and other people are
I
trying to
don't get to
follow the law, and
recognize
they can't
people,
do
so.
it.
that's fine.
Yeah.
There's no one there to help them. Now's a
Right,
busy
I know it's a
season.
huge problem right now, so.
Yep. And, yes, Kate?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is the building inspector a department head?
Yes.
Well, we combine now.
It's now inspectional services.
So who's the department?
I don't really know, so,
You run the building department, Phil?
I thought they had,
I have a
I'm the
question.
senior person in that office, so administrative stuff, I would be running the administrative stuff, the budget, in concert with the building inspector.
Doesn't it have to be approved at town meeting to be combined?
I
Yeah.
think so.
doesn't have,
We
So
have
it's
not, we
not
have
yet.
not
So,
done that
okay,
officially.
now.
No, there's,
I'm
okay, so there's a
really
separate
confused.
question as to whether when people
Yeah, I know.
call like screaming and cursing, whether he takes the call to quiet them down. I think that's a separate issue. So yes, he's doing that probably without a town meeting vote, but in terms of going out as a certified building inspector and doing the work, no, he's not doing that.
Oh.
So that's what I mean, so that we don't want to get it twisted here, we don't need
Although
it,
I did look into it.
right,
No?
yeah.
but if we had
Yeah.
a building department and had a board of health, it'd be two separate departments, two separate department heads.
Right.
Right,
If we had a building
Yes.
inspector, right?
if we had a building inspector, right. But I also look at it as the building inspector too, we had cut down to, what is it this year, 10? It's 10, whereas Phil was, I mean, when we, at last town meeting, voted to give half the number of hours to the building inspector as we did to the health agent. So in my mind, that doesn't put the necessity of their work at necessarily an equal level where the building inspector doesn't have a board to answer to and doesn't have as separate elected officials that act as kind of a separate entity over them, whereas the building inspector he does building inspections and he does have an administrator to assist, but he is not, he's not answering to a board, basically, and having those other kind of added responsibilities that come along with.
Right, but he answers like you. Like
He
you
is
did.
on the select board.
Yeah, he answers. Yeah.
Right, which technically, I mean, our health inspector does in a way in that we approve his budget, so he is two boards if you take it that way, yeah.
I guess I was just wanting to clarify that we have two separate departments still.
It is, there's a sign hanging up that says inspectional services. I don't think that we have,
It's unofficial.
it's unofficial, right? So we have not combined the positions or changed their job descriptions. But they are in the same office to save money on the administrative assistant, basically is what it was. We had to save money on the administrative assistant, so now it is an administrative assistant for the Department of Inspectional Services, which does not really exist. But you have low taxes, so I mean, that's the price we pay, yeah.
All right.
We've combined for the next fiscal year, we've combined the budget, so the difference will be, you'll have a line item for health director, you'll have a line item for building inspector, you'll have a line item for admin. Everything else is one office. As far as operationally, I'm the senior person, I'm training the admin, the new person that comes on board, I'm gonna be there to welcome them, assist them, they're gonna have a lot to get through, and when we go budget time, what are you gonna need? Well, but I put the budget together with that person's assistant.
Yes, ma'am.
Bottom line, though, my building inspections and permitting is not getting done.
Right.
So whether you increase the salary and increase the hours for a building inspector, or increase the wages and keep it at 20, you seriously need to do something to that department, because
Right.
nothing is getting done on the building inspections.
Particularly because we don't have a building inspector, and as the town administrator said,
There is just a glimmer of hope. I have a message today from someone who seems to be a good candidate, is certified. And I will be in touch tomorrow and may have some news.
I know, but if you don't
He doesn't know the
vote
pay
on
rate yet.
something,
I'd just like to add one more thing,
Yeah.
Ken. And by these departments all as one, they're working a lot better. Before, not that it would, I mean, the building inspector, they all have to work hand in hand with a lot of things that get done. You know, whether it's a school system or a house, or they're all talking to each other, they all gotta sign off on it. And so it's actually gonna, I think it'll work really good once it gets up and running, the way it's set up right now.
would it be, sorry,
That's fine.
would it be better to raise their salary a little bit instead of raising the hours and make that part more attractive? Just trying to figure out the best thing to do,
Absolutely, I
because you're
have
right, and I
been-
had forgotten about that. That was probably on my list too.
The-
Can I just put it on
Yeah.
that? I'd say no, mainly because the time in the seat or at the job is equally, if not more important than, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's too, I mean, yeah, you wanna pay them as best as you can, all right? So
Yeah.
Phil, keep shaking your head, yes, 'cause I'm with you on this one.
I'm
But
with
paying a building inspector $100 an hour for 3 hours a week isn't gonna do us any good.
Right, because you were saying that there's work that's not getting done.
Okay, that's what I'm
so, yeah.
asking.
Right.
That, so it's better to increase the hour, because either way, like, we're not getting someone, so which is the best thing to do? So then, if those things aren't getting done, then that's gonna affect us as a whole, no different than Board of Health, Public Safety, you know, whatever. So I would make the motion that we increase the hours for the building inspector to 30 hours at $12,435,
That would be in addition to what's here.
in addition to what's already in that account.
I will
Yes.
second
Yep.
that.
Okay, first and second, any further discussion? Just John?
I think what I haven't heard here is that by our actions, we've created this humongous workload in this backlog. And how are we going to address that?
We're gonna have
The best we
Kelly-
can, like everybody else is doing.
Kelly works an
Ask
extra
Kelly.
hour.
We're gonna give Kelly
I mean-
60 hours and
She'll find more money.
she'll find more money for us and then,
Right.
yeah, but no, but I completely agree that this is gonna have, this is an issue that's, yeah.
The key thing, what you just said, is getting someone that's gonna come and gonna stay. That's the number one thing. You get somebody there, then they're gonna plug away. And if you're gonna be in need for additional hours over a short term, kinda like what Kelly has identified, then that can come back if, you know, needed. But it's like any job, when I came in, hit the ground running and you just keep on going. So the key thing is getting a good person that's willing to come, number one. Number two, willing to stay.
Yeah.
Put those two together, and the workload
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
take care of itself.
Right, and just going off of that really quickly, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding, and as Bob said regarding the building inspector and getting someone, 6 people said no to the job. I mean, I know the economy's better, but it's not exactly like booming with construction happening everywhere. And when you have a building inspector, 6 people say no to you, I mean, that says something about, that's not just 1 or 2 people turn down a position, that's where having it's become impossible to do the town's business at that current rate.
And we should just state the reasons publicly why I was declined. One reason is an inspector is looking for